I got quiet revenge on my roommate by letting him live with his own words. This happened last year when I was sharing a place with a guy I'd known since college. We were never close friends, more like convenient adults who paid rent on time and stayed out of each other's way. The problem was his mouth. He had this habit of making little comments that were always framed as jokes, but somehow always landed on me. Stuff like, must be nice to have an easy job when I work from home, or wow, you're really sensitive today if I asked him to clean up his mess. If I called out, he'd laugh and say I was overthinking it. He also loved giving unsolicited advice, especially in front of other people, correcting how I cooked, how I folded laundry, how I parked. Nothing big enough to justify a blow-up, just constant low-grade disrespect that made me dread being in my own kitchen. I tried talking to him once, very calm, very adult, and he said, word for word, I'm just honest. People should be tougher. That sentence stuck with me, so I stopped reacting, completely. Instead, I started taking him at his word. Every time he made one of his little comments, I treated it like useful feedback. If he said, you're being dramatic, I'd say, good to know, and write it down in the notes app on my phone. If he said, relax, it's not a big deal, I'd nod and say, okay, I'll remember that. At first, he didn't notice. Then one night we had friends over, and he did his usual thing, joking about how I'm uptight about dishes. I smiled and said, very politely, you told me before that honesty is important, so I'm glad you're being honest. He laughed, but it was a confused laugh. Over the next few weeks, I kept doing it. Calm, pleasant, zero emotion. I also stopped covering for him. When the landlord asked why the trash was overflowing, I repeated his words back. Oh, he said it's not a big deal. When a mutual friend asked why the living room was always a mess, I said he thinks people should be tougher about that stuff. Slowly, people started looking at him differently. Not angrily, just with that pause, that little eyebrow raise. He started stumbling over his jokes, adding, I mean, unless you don't like that, and I'm kidding, obviously way too late. One night, he finally snapped and asked why I was being so weird and passive-aggressive. I told him I wasn't. I said I was taking his advice seriously and trying not to be sensitive. He went quiet, like genuinely quiet, and after that he mostly stopped. No apology, of course, but the comments dried up. A month later he moved out and told someone I was hard to read. Honestly, best compliment I've ever gotten.